Since 1971, the price of the average home in the UK has inflated by just over about 5,000% to where it is today. In the UK, almost 50%, almost half of all the houses we build are built by just 10 companies. So we have a hugely centralized housing sector. Since the Industrial Revolution, the basic assumption has been that the only way we can build new housing and new property at scale is for a small number of very large organizations to do it for us. Whether it was first by the state, or whether it was the industrialists first, then by the state, and then more recently by house builders. This fundamental assumption has remained that this is the industrial model behind the way that we do it. Even at the peak of the boom in 2006, 2007, Britain, which is the world's 6th wealthiest economy, found itself building the 2nd smallest houses in the whole of Europe. So in terms of quality of our property, we were building ourselves into a kind of form of poverty, ironically. When you think about it in pure hard economic terms, there is only one group of people who will always, always build the best property that they can, as quickly as they can, as affordably as they can, and as sustainably as they can. Like, every government right now has a policy to reduce the energy consumption of buildings, but there is only one group of people with a direct economic incentive to put more insulation in the walls straight away, as much as they can, which is the people who are going to pay the heating bills, the homeowners. We believe we are at the beginning, very, very early stages of an industrial revolution, what's been called the third industrial revolution. Where a series of technologies are going to fundamentally change those rules and effectively do the same thing as we've seen happening through the web and through video for the last 10, 20, 30 years, are going to start coming into the domain of the way we make physical things, and particularly buildings. Those shifts include the web, the ability to share and transact information freely at almost no cost. Second one's things like 3D printers and digital fabrication, which are going to have huge implications. Automation, which is going to massively affect labor and the workforce, and then finally data, and the ability to actually understand how our properties perform in our lives. What we have been beginning to develop is one of the world's first fully digital building systems for homes, which is really exploring what those technologies could mean for our rather, frankly, Victorian construction methods. Algorithms that literally allow us to code buildings. So we're making a kind of coding language for space. So you can take the huge amount of complexity that goes into a building, and you can essentially write it into very, very simple rules and tools that people can use. The massively falling cost of these machines means that we're moving from an economy which was super focused around centralized big factory production to the idea that increasingly factory can be everywhere, can be super local. So traditionally, if you wanted to make a prefabrication factory, you needed hundreds of thousands of pounds. You can set this one up in your garage for a few £1,000s. The parts that creates is essentially just a massive, great IKEA kit, which can then be assembled really, really quickly and really, really simply, and most importantly, by anyone. But the key thing about this process is that this is not tin pot, easy, kind of slightly rubbish construction. These are super precise houses. So we get the tape measure out, the laser measure at the end of the construction process, and the difference between the digital file and the real house over the entire length of the house is 7 millimeters. We can now put that kind of capability into the hands of even the smallest business in the UK. And that has a massive impact in terms of addressing making construction more sustainable, more modular, but also opening up the construction economy. Put simply, as they said in the 2000s, the next big thing is many, many small things. Not surprisingly, of course, the places that you tend to get as a result tend to be much more successful, much more sustainable places because they were built as places to live. Even if we are relatively generous and optimistic about the capability of the existing housing market sectors to increase production a little bit, we're still going to become nowhere close to the 250,000 home target for the number of homes we build in the UK. The single most important and exciting idea, I believe, in house building is to begin to imagine a fundamentally new house building sector, which we could call the citizen sector. And the central question for government, for businesses, for innovators, and for investors, and you guys, is how could we grow that? How could we scale it?